The anticipation of the greatest sporting event may have stretched for an additional year. The hallowed halls of competition will no longer have the usual buzz of Olympics past, but one thing for sure is that the Olympic torch burns bright in the hearts of those who hold these events dear. The wheels of our imagination turned as we were forced to change every facet of our lives. With anticipation came the extended preparation, and after a year's delay, the best athletes from around the planet, in the aftermath of a world trying to recover from loss, grief, and hurt, will hunt for their greatest prize in the cauldron of competition and honor and seek some semblance of normalcy in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. Tokyo 2020 +1. It's an honor to be with you. Welcome to Tokyo Prime, The Journey. My name is Donald Oliver. I'm alongside Mr. Olympics himself, Lance Whitaker, who would not have experienced the previous cancellation of the Olympics in 1916, 1940, and 1944 because of World Wars I and II. But if you were to compare with previous Olympics, Lance, how different are you expecting this one to be?
Well, significantly different, especially for the athletes and the teams that will be in Tokyo, because part of the Olympic spirit is a camaraderie, is the magic of an Olympic stadium with, tens of thousands of fans cheering you on, and that will be absent this time. So for the athletes, it's going to be completely different and significantly less of a spectacle for them. I guess to the viewing public, because there are more people watching on television than there will be in attendance. For the television viewers, they may not feel the sort of diluted effect of the Olympic Games, but certainly for the teams participating with limited numbers in the stands and so on, it's going to be completely different. But I think they will welcome it because they don't want to miss an Olympic Games.
What are you looking forward to the most, though?
The competition, the sort of rivalry that we have grown accustomed, because this is the pinnacle of sport. All people who compete in Olympic sporting disciplines see every 4 years as an opportunity to rise to the levels that they dream of. So, there are many epic battles that we are anticipating. So from that standpoint, there isn't a lot of difference as far as my anticipation is concerned, but you can't hide from the fact that these games will be so different, and I'm just hoping that as a spectacle, because of the COVID-19 issues, it wouldn't be significantly less of a grandeur than we'd grown accustomed to seeing.
Yeah, that's true. We are now joined by the Olympic relay gold medalist from the 2004 Athens Olympics, Aileen Bailey. Aileen, welcome to the show. I'm going to put this question to you as to your expectations of Tokyo 2020 this summer.
I mean, it's pretty, just the showdown between the countries in track and field and gymnastics, swimming, football, everything on the whole. Just the display of great talent.
Putting yourself in the athlete's shoes, based on the fact that they had to be waiting a year, of course, I said before that it's extended preparation as well. How do you think they are feeling now? Some of them, of course, heading into trials and stuff like that. But how do you think they are feeling now?
I mean, they're like, they've put the work in, because, I mean, you just, as an athlete, you know how to reset. Once something gets delayed, you just reset and go back into race mode. So they're pretty much back in the same frame of mind that they were last year getting ready. So they're just ready to go to their trials, execute, and make their team.
Yeah, Aileen, when we look at, a lot of the athletes competing here, one of the things that we've got to appreciate is that when the Olympics were called off last year, I think most people had accepted that there was no option but to postpone the games. But for some athletes who are now in their 30s, a cancellation would not be suitable for them, because to look at 2024 France, for many of our athletes in their 30s, they may not see 2024 as an option. So part of the reason why these athletes now, would you think, are embracing the Olympic Games a year later, it's because, they didn't want to miss an opportunity to perform at the Olympic Games. And obviously, we have seen now for months where a lot of top flight sports is happening globally, where people are learning the protocols and understanding what it takes to have competition even in the pandemic.
I mean, it's just an adjustment. It doesn't matter your age. It's pretty much your drive and your focus and what it is that you want to accomplish. So age really has nothing to do with it. For example, Marlene went for a very long time and she was still dominant. So it's just your work ethic and your mental space. And these athletes have been preparing for this since forever. Like half of us started when we were babies, pretty much. So we're mentally prepared and physically prepared for it.
You're based, Aileen, in the United States, the country that has suffered the most numbers-wise from the COVID-19 based on deaths and so on. But the country did not appear, from where we sit, badly stalled by the COVID-19 pandemic. And the USA had been one of the countries that had maintained a lot of its regular life and sporting competition, even during the dark days of last year.
I mean, it's just rules were implemented and we followed them. We wore a mask. We just participated in social distancing. So we just follow protocol and make sure we stick to what we're supposed to do. And I think pretty much that's why everything is flowing so smoothly and we were able to get back to somewhat of normality so quickly.
Thank you so much, Aileen, for your time. It's a pleasure being with you. And of course, Aileen Bailey will be a part of our coverage of the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. We'll catch up with you a little bit later on. Thanks, Aileen.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. See you later.
All right, see you later. We take a short break now, but of course, the Olympic Village just about complete. But there's something a little bit different this year for the Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago teams, as there will be no camps. We hear from the presidents of both Olympics associations after this short break. Stay with us.
Finally been confirmed.
Next year's Olympics will be cancelled.
When the world stood still, the future uncertain, we kept moving, competing against ghosts of ourselves, of history. But we know progress isn't forged in the shadows. The gains made in the darkness advance no one unless they are carried into the light. The world only moves forward when we move together. This isn't about breaking records, but building a place for everyone, regardless of who they are, where they're from, or how they shine. It's about going to the edge of possibility and seeing what's on the other side, together. Because no matter how hard or how far we push ourselves, we can never go further than when we push each other. Alone we are small, but together we become giants.
This is Tokyo Prime, the journey. Now, the Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago contingents will not have an Olympic camp ahead of the Tokyo Olympics. Let's hear from the presidents of the associations who join us on Zoom. First, Chris Samuda, president of the Jamaica Olympic Association. Chris, first of all, outline for us the reasons why that decision was taken to cancel the camp, obviously in collaboration with the Tokyo officials and so on, and what the options are.
Thank you so much for having me this morning. The cancellation of the camp was a direct result of the central government's directive. We received communication from the Tottori Prefecture, which indicated quite clearly that the restrictions imposed by central government would certainly not be practical for us to hold the camp. They in fact expressed regret that they would not be able to hold the camp. But it is as a result of the strict measures that the central government has in fact imposed, which made it impractical for the camp to be held. Certainly, we were apace with our arrangements for the camp, only to be told in this communication and in, of course, a meeting that new measures have been instituted, which of course frustrated the whole objective of the camp. And we had no alternative but to cancel the camp. Regrettably, but we understand that in the interest of public safety, there has to be, of course, some safeguards which the central government have to institute.
Brian Lewis is also president of the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee, and explain the situation for TNT in particular. What exactly is happening from your end?
Well, thank you very much. Let me acknowledge my good friend, President Somuda. The decision by the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee in collaboration, of course, with Osaki Tong, Nakotusa Tong, and the Japanese embassy here in Port of Spain, really surrounded similar things, but in particular, the uncertainty in terms of the creating a biosecure environment. Osaki Tong is a rather small town, and there were some structural aspects, notwithstanding their will and commitment. But our meaning the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee, absolute priority and non-negotiable was the biosecure environment and the safety of the Team TTO delegation.
Brian, you're also president of KNOC, the Caribbean Association of National Olympic Committees. Can you say, from a wider perspective, that Caribbean Olympic associations have fallen into the same bracket with TNT and Jamaica regarding pre-Olympic camps?
Well, I know that for some of the smaller NOCs, they were depending on the Pan Am Sports. Pan Am Sports was organizing a pre-game training camp. I'm not sure what the situation is with that now. I think it was 50-50, but at the end of the day, there's a general concern about ensuring the safety and finding themselves in a biosecure environment. So we'll see how the status of the Pan Am pre-game training camp goes, but at this point in time, I think that the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee and the Jamaican Olympic Association, my colleague, President Samuda you had to make the call, and we made the call when it was needed. It was a difficult decision following 3 years of planning and expectation on the part of everybody, but at the end of the day, the biosecure environment was an absolute priority and non-negotiable. Yeah. And the only environment, I'm sure President Sumuda would agree with me, that at this point in time seems assured is the Tokyo 2020 village and environment.
Yeah. Chris, we've heard coaches, team managers and chaperones speak glowingly in the past of the value of a camp and how much it works with synergy, chemistry, and building a team vibe. How will you achieve that without this camp?
Well, luckily for us, Lance, the Jamaican contingent is really together. We have had, of course, veterans and experienced athletes who are able to have the newcomers gel in a way that I think is very commendable. But I understand that inescapably a camp is of value to any contingent going to an international games. What we are trying to do is to see what we can do, given the limited amount of time that we have, to interface with the Jamaica Administrative and the Athletics Association to see how best we can arrange something for the athletes. But of course, after our national trials, which takes place this weekend, there are going to be athletes who are going to go overseas in order to fulfill commitments. So there is going to be a difficulty in getting everybody together. What we are doing, however, is in the absence of a camp, we are trying to get our sports psychologists to work with those athletes who will remain in Jamaica. As you know, the robust testing regime and also the uncertainty of the games has cast a lot of doubt, and that has had a negative effect on our athletes. We feel and have always felt that the role of the psychologist is very important. So we will be having sessions with those athletes who will remain in Jamaica to ensure that they are properly orientated because when they embark upon that journey to Tokyo and reach Tokyo, it's going to be a very robust testing regime. You're going to be tested almost continually, and therefore you have to be in the frame of mind in order to ensure that it doesn't have any debilitating effect on your performance. So we are looking at various ways that we can perhaps provide substitutes, not proper substitutes, yes, but see if we can arrange our logistics to ensure that we, in the circumstances, deliver the best that we can for our athletes and managers and coaches.
Mr. Samuda, I'm just wondering if there was any thoughts or discussions in regards to utilizing the Olympic Village as best as possible, probably extending the time there before the actual Olympics began. Was there any discussion in that regard?
Well, unhappily, given the virus and given, of course, the fact that it still rages in Tokyo, edicts have been issued. There have been time limits that have been placed on when you can arrive in the village, and certain time limits imposed after you have finished your event, and all in the interest of public health and safety, of course. So we're operating within parameters that have been established. And given the circumstances, I don't think that there's any room for discussion. I know that central government in Tokyo is coming under a lot of pressure. We see the polls, and we understand that there is a lot of disaffection with the Olympic Games going on. So they have to be very sensitive and mindful of public opinion. And therefore, in terms of the directives, you have to comply. And I can understand the rationale for compliance and strict compliance, because there is a risk to public safety.
Speaking of risk to public safety, Mr. Lewis, just want to pick your mind in regards to the vaccinated delegation from Trinidad and Tobago. What are your thoughts on it? What are you advising them?
Well, I've gone on public record as saying that even though it's not mandatory, we are even to encourage 100% of the Trinidad and Tobago delegation going to Tokyo 2020 to be vaccinated. Vaccination is one of the key tools. At the end of the day, regardless of what anyone may feel, regardless of whether, yes, I was hearing just now a pre-games training camp, a significant and tremendous benefit. But the reality is that this is an entirely different Olympic Games. This is a different circumstance and environment. COVID-19 is a killer. It has one aim, and that is to destroy. And there is no margin for error with COVID-19. So as I maintain, the absolute priority is safety and health. And we are doing every single thing that is possible to ensure not only the safety of the delegation, all the athletes who our delegation will come in contact with, the people of Japan, but more importantly, when they return home, they have to return home safely to their families, their communities, and Trinidad and Tobago. So this is an entirely different enemy. And I make no apologies for saying that COVID-19 is a killer.
And Mr. Samuda, in regards to your position and that of the JOA?
Well, we have always maintained from the very inception that it is an individual choice, and we respect the choice of individuals. It is individual rights against public rights. And in law, we respect individual rights. What we have been saying to our athletes, coaches, and administrators, that it is in your interest and in the interest of public health and safety that you should be vaccinated. We have also indicated that there is no guarantee as we approach Tokyo Olympic Games and as the virus does not abate, that other stringent measures will be instituted which relate to vaccination. So out of an abundance of caution, to ensure that you do not fall into a disadvantaged group, if the decision is taken that you should be vaccinated in order to enter, that you should get vaccinated. And the medical evidence preponderates as to the minimal risks that will occur if you are vaccinated. So we have armed our coaches or armed our athletes and administrators with medical evidence and medical opinion from WHO, PAGO, and our local body to indicate to them that it's not a risk, it's certainly not, and that you should be vaccinated. So that has been our policy, but we respect the individual's right to say no.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. We appreciate your time today. We just heard from the president of the Jamaica Olympic Association, Chris Samuda, and the head of the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee, Brian Lewis, as they try to make the best of a very difficult situation for them logistically and otherwise. We take a break. The journey continues as all eyes continue its gaze on Tokyo ahead of the games of the 32nd Olympiad. Back with more after this. At the Sydney Olympics in 2000, the Bahamian Pauline Davis finished second in the 200 meters. Ahead of her was the American superstar, Marion Jones.
Here they come at the top of the home straightaway, and Marion Jones has the lead. Marion Jones powers to the front. It's Marion Jones there. No one else can catch her. She's running away from the field again. Here they come to the line. It's marvelous Marion, goal number 2.
Pauline had announced her retirement before the games, and so her shot at individual gold seemed gone. But in 2007, Jones admitted to using performance-enhancing drugs, which paved the way for Pauline, now Davis Thompson, to receive her just reward.
When I first heard the news, I thought it was a joke. And I was like, yeah, whatever, right. That was my first attitude about it. But then some other person started calling me, and then I was like, okay, wait a second. There must be some truth to this story. And I was elated because when I crossed that finishing line in Sydney, I knew from day one that I was the Olympic champion. I already knew that. I had gotten a lot of email, because they had the email set up in the Olympic Village with all the athletes and everything like that. I had many of my fans who had sent me email notes and said, tell Marion Jones to give you your gold medal. You are the Olympic gold medalist. And so I always knew that I was the Olympic gold medalist, but you don't want to tarnish anybody's name. You don't want to say anything. You know, you just kind of just somewhat accepted the fact that she won the race that night, even though you knew that she didn't do it honestly, she didn't do it fairly. And even when I went into the drug testing, I remember saying to the drug tester when I went in, and I said, are we gonna do both urine and drug tests? And the tester was like, no, we're only gonna do urine tests.
Urine and blood.
Like, oh my God. It's like my heart dropped to the bottom of my stomach. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not gonna get this Olympic gold medal tonight, am I? And when I said that, I looked across, and looking directly at me was Trevor Graham, Marion Jones' coach. And he gave me a nasty look. And I gave him back one nasty, stinking look, because I find athletes who take drugs, I find them to be gutless, spineless, and morally warped. And coaches who give athletes drugs or who convince the athletes to take drugs, they're just as bad. They are gutless, spineless, and morally warped. And I felt that day I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna get this gold medal now. But for whatever reason, deep down in the pit of my belly, I felt like someday I'm gonna get this medal. And that was just the thing. I can't explain to you why. That was just the thing. I just always felt that I was going to win this gold medal. It's crazy, but it's just how I always felt about it.
Lance, I'm going to put the question to you. What's your memory of those times in particular and the rivalry between those two?
Well, it was intense, and Pauline Davis, as you just saw, there's a very outspoken individual, a very, very fiery personality, and she speaks her mind. What I remember from Sydney, though, was how well the Caribbean did, although there were no gold medals for the Caribbean. From a personal standpoint, the Sydney Olympics, for me, is the best Olympics that I had gone to, based on organization and the village that we were as media. it was just so comfortable. I was so impressed with Sydney as an Olympic venue because the Caribbean had done so much better at other Olympic Games. Sydney may fall a little bit behind on that score, but the sort of atmosphere and the opening ceremony at Sydney was very special. And Marion Jones was dominant. See Pauline Davis, they're running on for the runner-up spot. They were silver and bronze medals for the Caribbean in the men's 100 with Bolden and Obadeli. Bolden also got a medal in the 200. Lorraine Fenton had a medal in the 400. So the Caribbean did reasonably well, and it was the rise to of Kim Collins, this Kitson Nevis sprint star, who became the first Kittian to qualify for an Olympic final. So my memories of Sydney are indelibly written in my mind. And great on Pauline that she was eventually given the gold medal for her effort there.
Yeah, but getting a gold medal retroactively, I mean, it obviously you'd have lost some semblance of, pride or honor, because you'd expect to get that in the heat of battle or in the aftermath of the heat of that battle. But no, she had to wait years afterwards, and it probably would have lost something.
Yeah, no question about it, Donald. There's no doubt that when athletes get medals like these retroactively, they still feel cheated.
Yeah.
Because standing at the top of a podium, receiving a gold medal is a completely different feeling from being awarded a medal 2 or 3 years later at some other event. And we know the emotion that goes in, that comes out of athletes when they win gold medals, because you see so many tears. You see people at the top of an Olympic podium getting a gold medal and burst into tears. So the emotion that you would feel on the moment of winning an Olympic gold medal is unmatched. And as I said, many of the athletes who get medals retroactively still feel cheated.
You think there's going to be any resolution between the two athletes after a while, probably?
Maybe, I'm not sure.
It's going to take
has
some
gone
doing.
off the limelight, for a long time now. Of course, she is now married to Obadeli Thompson, the Barbadian sprint star of the Sydney Olympic Games. But I believe there's room for some sort of coming together, and there's a Caribbean contact now with Marion.
Because Marion has been an advocate since, hasn't she?
Yes. And I believe that a lot of people who know her and are close enough to track and field feel some sort of sympathy for what she had gone through, because there is a feeling among some of the insiders that she was led into that path as opposed to being the person triggering it herself.
Well, we're up on another break here on the Journey Tokyo Prime. Please stay with us. Lots more to look ahead to.
As we continue our journey to Tokyo 2020, we feature one of the Caribbean's medal hopefuls, Anderson Peters. Donald Oliver caught up with the 2019 Javelin World Champion, and the Grenadian shares his story of why he decided to transition from the sprints to the javelin.
What caused me to transition is the fact that I kept getting injured as a sprinter. Like, I would be completely good right now when they run one race and get injured with like a hamstring pull or something, like small injuries. So because I kept getting injured, I had to sit out a lot of meets, and I didn't want to miss out on the track. So I decided to branch off into something else, and I started to do the javelin.
Was the transition quick? Because, of course, once you're a young athlete and you started to get these injuries, you probably would have been down in spirit for a while. What was that transition like in coming to that realization that, this isn't for me?
Well, it was tough because I really wanted to be a sprinter. Like I was desperate at that point, like seeing everybody doing well on the sprint circuit. I really wanted to be a sprinter. And then when it turns out that I couldn't be a sprinter no more, I was desperate to find something else to remain in the track and field world.
And who would have encouraged you during that time?
well, my coach Paul Phillip at the time, he was actually coaching me to be a sprinter, and then he was like, "Hey, I think you should try the javelin," and we did that, and we're here today.
Well, I'm sure it wasn't as easy as black and white, was it? I mean, did you catch on that quickly to the javelin?
I catch on faster than normal because like I used to be a fast bowler as well, so I kind of catch on quickly than the others my age did. So it was a rough transition, but it took me a shorter time to do it.
So hold on, you're telling me that West Indies cricket actually missed out on you?
yeah, I used to be a fast bowler.
The regrets. But anyway, you know, Anderson, I mean, a lot of us come to the realization that you are a world champion, and sometimes that takes a while to just settle into our own consciousness. You've obviously had a couple of years to let that digest. What is it like to be the world champion, considering the journey that you've been on?
Well, I mean, it's a wonderful feeling, like being the world champion. Because right now, like athletes that I normally would look at that on YouTube, they actually acknowledge me. They actually know my name right now. So it's a proud moment for me and my country, and also my family. So being the world champion means a lot to me. And even in competition, I'm recognized way more than I'm normally accustomed to. So this is a new feeling for me.
Keshawn Walcott, I'm assuming, would have been an inspiration based on what he did in London. How were you able to use him as a push for you to actually become world champion?
Yeah, after Keshawn won the London Olympics, like I was like, man, I was breaking all his record at the junior level. So like, man, if he could do it, then I could do it too. I actually tried really hard to make the 2016 Olympics, missed the Olympic standard by like 3 meters. So I was like, the next Olympics is not going to miss me, or the next World Championships. That's it for me, missing the major meet. And I actually made the 2017 World Championship team.
Talk to me about your hunger for success, because obviously as a junior moving up the ranks, you want to prove everybody wrong or right depending on the side of the aisle they are on. What was it like to actually reach the pinnacle? Did you realize that you still had the hunger to be a better athlete?
Well, given the circumstances, I mean, I was always hungry because like I was never like handed out opportunities. Like I only had to work hard for it, and then I only got opportunities because I really deserved it. So like it's been tough. Like I was always hungry. I'm still hungry because there's still a lot for me to do. Like my PR is only 87 meters, and then there's guys out here like throwing 90 meters. Like it's normal to them. They wake up any day and they could throw 90 meters. So I'm still hungry to get out there.
When do you think you're going to wake up and throw 90 meters though?
Pretty soon. I don't know when yet, but I'll leave that up to God. When God is ready for me to be a 90-meter thrower, I'm going to be a 90-meter thrower.
You know, the entire world has been through quite a year, of course, with the Olympics being pushed back by a year to hopefully this summer. Are you looking forward to that type of Olympics, or you know, is it that you would prefer not to go to Tokyo? What's your mindset at this time?
Well, if the Olympics is happening, I'll bet my last dollar I'll be there, because the COVID-19 situation, yeah, it's tough, but I mean, like I'm young. If I catch COVID, I would recover from COVID. If I win a gold medal, I'll be an Olympic champion for life. I wouldn't have COVID for the rest of my life, but I'll have that gold medal to my name for the rest of my life. So, I mean, the benefits outweigh the risk, man.
Well, a lot of persons would be a little bit perturbed with the fact that, you know, COVID is still spreading in Tokyo, but you say that you are not concerned with that. Have you spoken with like other countrymen who feel the same way as you do, or don't?
People like, especially athletes like me, who's this is going to be the first Olympics for them. Like we don't care if we catch COVID after, or whether we catch it or not. Just the opportunity to be quarantined for 3 months, I'll do that after the Olympic Games. But I just gotta ensure that I go to the games.
What has this season been like for you? What have you been going through? What have you been experiencing? Obviously, with the unique setup of track meets all around the world, what's it been like for you so far?
with the COVID situation, it's been tough, like having to do tests. A meet director would say, like, we need a test 72 hours, and then, like, a few, like, when you get the test 72 hours, they say that they needed 48 hours. It's been tough, like, a lot of communication has to be done more than regular. A lot of COVID test situation, and it's just a lot tougher with the whole COVID situation.
Would you then prefer to be vaccinated ahead of the Tokyo Olympics?
Well, as it stands, I'm fully vaccinated, so.
Well, no wonder you're confident to take part in Tokyo, because you're fully vaccinated.
I'm fully vaccinated, so that's good for me.
And you'd encourage other athletes to be vaccinated ahead of Tokyo as well?
Well, I wouldn't like really encourage anybody to take the vaccine. Like, that's on them. At the end of the day, it's a choice on your health. So I'm not going to encourage somebody to take the vaccine. If somebody asks me why I took the vaccine, I give them the reason why I take the vaccine. And of course, they're going to have to respect my decision. And I'm going to respect their choice whether to take the vaccine or not.
Talk to me a little bit about the relationship that you have with Kirani James in particular. Of course, both of you, the standout sportsmen from your island of Grenada. Sometimes it can be lonely at the top, but it's not quite as lonely now. What's that relationship like?
Well, me and Kirani are actually pretty good friends. We communicate a lot. Like, he actually mentors me a lot. Like, it's my first time on the circuit, and he's been doing this, so he actually mentors me a lot. And he's actually here at this meet, so we've been talking, we've been hanging out. Like, he's been advising me, like, it's good to have him around to mentor me in this field.
But the faces of javelin for many years, usually guys from Europe. Now you have a compatriot, albeit from another country, Trinidad and Tobago, Keshawn Walcott. Both of you set to fly the respective flags high. What's your relationship with him in particular, knowing that you both come from similar backgrounds?
Me and Keshawn are pretty good friends, and we come from neighboring country. Keshawn spends a lot of time in Grenada, and so we've become pretty good friends on the circuit and outside the circuit, so our relationship is going pretty good.
Going to the Olympics now, because your mental state has to be pretty much on point based on what's been happening the past year or so. What's it like? How are you feeling mentally as you go into the Tokyo Olympics?
Well, this season is a long season, so me and my coach are actually playing the long game. I wouldn't say that I'm mentally ready for the Olympics yet, but when the time comes, I will be ready, because we have a lot of meets ahead. So every meet we try to build on something, build on it till we get to the Olympic Games.
Anderson, really a pleasure talking to you. Thanks so much for joining us for today, and all the best for Tokyo 2020.
All right, thank you very much for having me.
All right. Lance, I actually like him.
Yeah.
Humble youth.
Yes.
And he spoke well as well about his dreams and aspirations.
Yeah, you know what? We are so proud of our javelin throwers in the Caribbean at the moment. When Keshawn Walcott won gold in London in 2012, he was the first javelin thrower from this hemisphere, that's the entire Western Hemisphere, the USA, everywhere, to have even medaled at the Olympics. There was a medal, I think, in the early 70s from an American, but no medal since that. And here comes Keshawn Walcott to win a gold medal at the Olympic Games. Now, Addison Peters comes from a country, the Spice Isle, Grenada, that is known for producing outstanding javelin throwers. You heard him talk about his coach, Paul Phillip, who did a lot of work with him as a teenager. And the very first Carifta Games that was staged in 1972, Donna, was won. The javelin gold in the under-20 division was won by a Grenadian, Eros Rapier. And since then, with the Selwyn Smiths and so on, they have won more javelin gold medals at the Carifta Games than any other country. Trinidad and Tobago and Barbados had a few champions themselves, but not as many as Grenada. So his rise to the top now is sort of a justification or an illustration of how much Grenada has put into javelin as a sport. And we think Anderson Peters at the moment is really making Grenadians and the Caribbean proud, being a world champion, first ever world champion in javelin from this part of the world.
Yeah, and we're looking forward to the field events, in particular the Tokyo 2020 Games. Most of them, if not all, are expected to be real fire. We take a short break. Back with more after this. The world was already aware. Now it has been put on notice mere weeks ahead of the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. Sha'Carri Richardson, confident, brash maybe, but a champion she now is, an American champion. The 21-year-old winning the 100 meters at the US trials, booking her ticket to Japan, Lance.
Also, Donald, let's not forget Ryan Krauser's shot put world record throw of 23.37 meters, erasing a 30-year-old record previously held by Randy Barnes, and all this at the US Nationals.
That's right, Lance. And to discuss further, we have Obadeli Thompson, bronze medalist in the 100 meters at the Sydney Games. Obadeli, welcome to the show, as well as Ricardo Chambers, our resident track and field expert / commentator. Obadeli, let's start with you. Your thoughts on Sha'Carri and what she did at the US trials. How impressed were you by her?
Thanks for having me. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. She has been extremely impressive this year. When you look at what she has done within the last 2 years, from 2019, establishing a new world junior record of 1075 and winning the NCAA title, and then transferring to the international, the senior ranks, where she's run this season alone. She's run legally sub 1080 3 times, and then winning dominantly at the US trials. It has been extremely impressive. And as you mentioned, she does have the charisma, she's confident, and she's not afraid to show that she wants to be the best in the world.
Ricardo, we haven't really seen an athlete quite like Sha'Carri Richardson on and off the track, haven't we? Well, not for a while anyway.
She's an amazing talent. There's absolutely no doubt that she's a fantastic talent. As Obadeli pointed out, she is fast. This girl can get up on any given day out of her sleep and produce sub-11 performances, and that's what we've seen so far this year. The bigger discussion now becomes, is she ready to win the Olympic gold medal? And I think that's probably where the discussion is at ahead of the Jamaican Championships and after her performance at the US Championships. As I said, she's talented. I still have some questions about whether she's ready to beat the likes of Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce and Dina Asher-Smith, who have already shown that they're in stunning form this year. And one of the concerns I have, and I know, for example, Obadeli can speak specifically to this, is her energy management through the rounds. You look at the US trials, 1086 is what she won with in the final, beating Oliver and Tana Daniels, but she ran 1084 in qualifying, 1064, albeit wind assisted, extremely fast in the semifinals. And I have to ask the question, did she manage her energy in the best possible way throughout the rounds at the US trials? And could that be a factor when she gets to the Olympic Games? She will have to be at her best for the Olympic final. And so that distribution of energy throughout the rounds becomes even more important in a month's time. That's something her coach and herself will have to be very mindful of, I think.
Yeah, Obadeli, you were a standout, of course, for UTEP, so you understand the collegiate system and how it is to dominate collegiate, but then move up to the highest level. You were a bronze medalist at the Sydney Olympics, which was a high-pressure event. Maurice Green was pretty dominant in those times. From your knowledge of what it takes to medal and dominate at the Olympic Games, do you think Sha'Carri, given her inexperience, has the fortitude, the mental fortitude to rise to the top in Tokyo against so many athletes who are far more experienced than she is?
Yeah, I think Ricardo made a great point in terms of role management. And that's where you see experienced runners typically rise to the fore. So assuming all goes well, Shelly Ann is there, Elaine makes it, Dina Asher-Smith from the UK, and Blessing Okobare and Marie-Jose Talu. That's a lot of experience that she's going to have to deal with. I think particularly in the U.S. trials, what occurred was that I believe her coach, Dennis Mitchell, probably told her, listen, number one goal here is to make the team. So it looked like she was extra conservative at the start. And considering what happened in the semifinals with Alea Hobbs, where she was put out and then they gave her another opportunity to run in the finals, she was put out because of the false start in the semifinals. The number one goal always is to make the team. At the Olympic Games, it's different. And I think at the Olympic Games, we're going to see her be more aggressive all around. The thing for her, as far as I'm concerned, is whether she has the ability to start at a world-class level. And given her 60-meter personal best, compared to many of the other competitors who are more experienced and faster, usually through 60, I think that's where she perhaps will have the biggest challenge, is if she spots them such a big lead and seeing the way that Elaine has run this year, seeing the way that Shelly Ann has run this year, and even Dina Asher-Smith beating them all in Gateshead, she will have an uphill battle, but it's not beyond her ability to do.
Yeah. Are you surprised, Obadeli, about the current form of Shelly Ann Fraser-Pryce, who is getting a lot older? She has also had a child, but still appears to have world-beating capabilities.
Yeah, well, only 2 years ago, you look at what she did, and she's bounced back tremendously after having a child. She's been able to balance both her career and family life, it seems, and she is running extremely well. Apart from the Gateshead race, where she, I believe, finished fourth, she has performed tremendously. Of course, we see the 10:63 that she did, which is the second fastest time ever. And she's a champion. You don't win 2 Olympic golds. You don't win so many world championships without being a champion at heart. And that is really what she is. And she has the fire. And I also believe that with Sha'Carri Richardson coming up and being so good, it has put a fire under some of these other athletes, whether they want to publicly admit it, because you see a young person come up, that inspires you. And I think we're seeing very inspired runs from a lot of these women, and it's great for the sport.
Yeah, we're going to speak a little bit more on Shelly Ann Fraser-Pryce a little bit later on, but in regards to Allyson Felix making another Olympics record, Chambers, that's a fantastic achievement.
Yeah, it was an amazing achievement, Donald. And you look at the way she was able to do it as well. If you watch that US Trials 400 final with about 110 meters to go, I thought Allyson Felix was gone. I thought to myself, there is no way she was going to make the individual 400 team. She was that far down. But again, that's where experience pays off. And she was so smart, went out hard first 200 meters, really eased off the curve, and then coming home when she knew a lot of the other girls would suffer down the stretch is when she really poured it on and managed to come through for a second place finish, a 50.01 performance as well. So that's the fastest she has run since she had her child. So that in itself was fantastic. I can't wait to see what she does in another month at the Olympic Games, but it's phenomenal. Remember, she started in Athens 2004, beaten at 200 meters by Veronica Campbell-Brown. I think I was 14 or 15 years old, hammering my door when Veronica won that race, and I actually hurt my hand. One of the worst injuries I've actually ever had, but tremendous memories. And to see that Allyson is still around and performing at this level is just magnificent. There it is, 50-02. Quanera Hayes winning that one. By the way, another mother. The moms have it. The moms have it. The moms are doing great. It's great to see them. It's great to see Allison heading to another Olympic Games. I know we'll talk about this in a little bit, but I hope Veronica Camber-Brown will be heading to another Olympic Games as well. Will be her 6th on the Jamaican team.
Ryan Cross's shot put world record. Did we actually see this coming, Obadeli?
He has been throwing tremendously well. We looked at the competition of the last World Championships, and it was only a matter of time. Granted, the Randy Barnes record has been on the books for about 31 years. So the distance that he exceeded the world record is perhaps surprising, but anyone who got a glimpse at some of the rounds and what he was doing is tremendous. And it's about time that the record goes, and he's the #1 thrower in the world, and we'll see what happens again come Tokyo.
Thanks, guys. From one trials to the next, the Jamaica trials are on this weekend, and we'll tell you all about it. But first, you heard a bit about her a little bit earlier, Alison Felix, and what she achieved. This is her story.
I've always been naturally quiet. As an athlete, I've had to only perform. You know, I have this gift, this athletic ability, and I felt like, you know, that's what was expected of me.
And there's the start. The most decorated American woman in Olympic track and field history.
But in 2018, I gave birth to my daughter, Cameron, and I feel like she helped me find my voice. I went to the doctor at 32 weeks for just a routine checkup. And right away, I could tell that something was wrong. I was sent to the hospital for further testing, and I was diagnosed with an extremely severe case of preeclampsia. They made the decision to rush me in to do an emergency C-section. I didn't understand the true risks that women of color face. We are almost 4 times as likely to face complications or even death in childbirth. And you're not told when you find out that you're pregnant that you're at risk. I remember being there in the NICU and watching my daughter fight, and something within shifted. And I started to think about the strong women who raised me, my mother and my grandmother, who have been through a lot of adversity, and I didn't want my daughter to have to go through those same struggles. And I felt like the only way that that was going to change was for me to be vulnerable and to speak out and share my experience surrounding the maternal mortality crisis affecting Black women. My hope is that by sharing my experience with you, it will continue a conversation that needs much more attention and support. What I've learned is that there is something that we should be doing about this. I think that I am sitting here to tell the story of my traumatic experience, but there are so many women who are not here to raise their own children because of something that could have been stopped or prevented. I feel extremely privileged to be able to use my platform to bring awareness and hopefully bring about some type of change. I think about my daughter, how I want her to be confident and strong, and to never stand for less than what her value is.
And Alison Felix gets her goal.
I am a strong Black woman, and I fight for my daughter and for all women.
Welcome back to Tokyo Prime. The journey, or focus now, is the Jamaica Trials, slated for this weekend. And there are a number of events that will be of interest, none more so than the women's 100 meters.
Yeah, you said it, Lance. Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price and Elaine Thompson-Herah. They are the 2 biggest names, and all eyes will be on them. Let's join Ricardo Chambers to preview the Jamaica trials. He's still with us, as well as our resident analyst, Daniel Dowie. I tell you what, I expect it to be absolutely cracking as I start up with Daniel. What are you looking forward to the most? And in particular, that matchup that everybody is expecting in the 100 meters, Daniel.
Well, it will be arguably the best race at trials. It's fully loaded. We're looking for it to be the best race at the entire Tokyo Games. And we have two heavyweights in that race, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, fastest woman alive, 1060 feet, and the reigning double Olympic champion in Elaine Thompson-Herah. So in the mix of that, we have a total of 5 women that have gone sub-11 this season. So I'm expecting the times to be really crazy. And new rumors swirling that Shericka Jackson, the 400-meter bronze medalist, has joined that lineup. I mean, this is going to be the biggest race at trials.
Ricardo, your thoughts in particular, why is it so cracking in your eyes?
Well, we know about Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce. We know about Elaine Thompson-Herah. We also know about Brianna Williams. We know about Natasha Morrison, who has run very well this year. Kimber Nelson has also been under 11 seconds. But Shericka Jackson has entered the 100, the 200, and the 400 meters for the Jamaican Championships. There's the list of fastest Jamaicans this year. Jackson is down in 6th position with that personal best of 11.02. That 11.02, by the way, came only about 5 or 6 days after a subpar 400 performance overseas. So she hasn't looked great at 400 meters this year, but when she has run 100 and 200 meters, she has been very good. I don't know how Shericka Jackson is going to do a triple at the national championships, but I think it could also be that she's entered the 100 and the 200, and depending on what happens in the 100, and I guess, I don't know, the 200, then she'll see if she does the 400. I'm a little bit confused right now, but I do know that she is going to run the 100 meters for sure. She's part of that field. Everything that Shericka Jackson has done this year, from she started competing in about late February, has suggested a preparation for 100 and 200 meters. Everything that is happening on the world scene, though, probably suggests that it's best she goes 400 meters, because guess what? We're not sure what's happening with the world champion, Nasser, because she has a pending doping case. Shauna Miller-Weibo has suggested that she's likely to go 200 and not 400 meters. And for what? 4 out of the last 5 years, Shericka Jackson has been top 3 at 400 meters in the world. And this could be the year that a fabulous opportunity opens up for her to be Olympic champion. But we're seeing her at 100 and 200, likely at the Jamaican trials. As I said, right now, she's entered all 3. So let's just enjoy, shall we? Let's just enjoy. What else?
Yeah. All right, Daniel, I want your opinion on this, but I'll get Ricardo's view on it first, because Obadele Thompson just told us that he believes that these women of class, i.e. Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce and Elaine Thompson, etc., are being fired up by Sha'Carri Richardson's sudden rise and brash behavior. Do you agree with him? Not that they need anything to be fired up, because these are champions and they know how to deliver on the Olympic stage.
Lance, you compete a little, don't you?
A bit, yes. Not track and field, though. Not track and field.
Would you, if you were an athlete, would you be fired up by what you've seen from Sha'Carri Richardson this year?
Yes, I would be. So
let me tell you something. Because of Sha'Carri Richardson's personality, if I were in the position of any of those other top athletes, I would not want her to beat me. I would be doing everything legally possible, putting in the work day in, day out, to ensure that I am at my very best when the Olympic Games comes around. I am very sure that the likes of Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, Elaine Thompson, Dina Asher-Smith, Marisha Zetalu, Blessing Okagbare are probably thinking along those lines. This is a brash 21-year-old who you know will have it in your face if she defeats you in Tokyo. And I think as a champion, as a strong competitor, that puts you on your P's and Q's, and that tells you you have to be ready. If you didn't know before, if you didn't realize before, you know now, and you realize now that you have to be ready, because as a champion, as a competitor, you're not going to allow this young brash 21-year-old to come and take your crown and remove you from top of the podium.
Daniel, do you agree with Ricardo?
Well, definitely. I think she definitely brings some fire to the game. When she ran her first 10-7 on the NC circuit in 2019, people thought she was just a one-hit wonder, and she came back this season with a whole lot of fire and a lot of sub-11s. And I think adding a new face to the mix definitely stirs the pot, because all the competitors, the race, Dina Asher-Smith, Talu, Blessing Akagbari, Shelley and Fraser, they all know each other. So a new face to the mix, a new 10-7 runner to the mix definitely adds fire. And with the new national record holder at Shelley and Fraser Prize, the response from Elaine, Blessing running a winning 10-6, I think they're ready. I don't think anybody's fearing her. I think they're ready for the challenge. And she should be ready, because all these women have world medals and world titles already. She's the one without the medal, just a fast time, so she should be ready as well.
You know, I know the 100-meter women's race is all the rage for the trials, but Ricardo, what else are you expecting at the trials this weekend?
Yeah, let me say quickly, I'm really looking forward to see what Veronica Campbell-Brown has to deliver. A short while ago, you saw the top 8 list of Jamaicans in 2021, and VCB was not part of that. She's attempting to reach her 6th Olympic Games, and we spoke about Allyson Felix in the previous segment, who is going to a 5th Olympic Games. Veronica Campbell-Brown, this was when she won the 200 in Athens, beating Allyson Felix, but VCB started her Olympic journey in 2000 at the Sydney Olympics, running the 4x1, the backstretch for the Jamaica team that got a silver medal, finishing behind the Bahamians. And I think it would be great for her to get back to one last one, especially as well because she's spoken about having a child and wanting her child, Ariana, to see her on that global stage. And she's been such a warrior, such a tremendous competitor for Jamaica and for the world as well. It would be great for her to get one last chance on the global stage, and no better place than Tokyo. So I'm hoping that she can get into that top 6, 11.20 this year. She has said, though, that she feels she can go sub-11 come the trials. That would be a phenomenal achievement, and I don't suspect that if she goes sub-11, she's going to be outside the top 6 to get at least a relay spot. Remember, 2008, Veronica Campbell-Brown ran 10.88 at the national championships and did not make the 100 team. She could run 10.88 and not make it again, but I don't think she would run that fast, sub-11, and not make the top 6.
Ricardo, quickly, 15 seconds. What are the other events that you're looking forward to? You first, Ricardo, then Danielle.
Quickly, the men's 110-meter hurdles, the reigning Olympic champion, Omar McLeod, fastest in the world this year, against the new kid on the block, Rashid Broadbell. That is a mega clash, but guess what? I've got some news, and it's not so great news. Apparently, there was an incident at training over the weekend, and Rashid Broadbell, who has run so brilliantly this year, 13.10 lifetime best, the former St. Jago athlete, is not 100%. There is an injury. I have not gotten yet exactly the extent of the injury, but they are monitoring it, and they might, his MVP camp might have to think about trying to invoke the world ranking rule, which means that he would bypass trials and try to get on the Olympic team by virtue of being ranked in the top 3 in the world. I really hope it's not that serious, because this is a tremendous young talent, and I want him to take that start line and see what he does against Omar McLeod and the likes of the Commonwealth champion, Ronald Levy, Damian Thomas, the world junior champion, Orlando Bennett, who was at the last World Championships for Jamaica. That's going to be a cracker of an event. Was that 15 seconds?
Yeah, roughly. Daniel, quickly, you're 15.
Well, I was trying to decide between the men's 100 meters and the women's 400 meters. In the men's 100 meters, quickly, I'm looking for a sub 10 from somebody. Anybody, somebody, please. A lot of men, the youngsters, they've been running 10.0, 10.1s. Nigel Ellis, the fastest man this year, Jamaican man this year. I'm just looking for somebody to step forward and give Jamaicans what they're looking for. We want a sub 10. We want somebody to be the flag bearer going into Tokyo, and we have yet to see that. So I'm really eager to see what they do at trials and who would be the man to step forward and give us what we're looking for.
All right. Thank you very much, Danielle, and thank you very much, Ricardo, who has no idea what time it is. That's it for our first episode of Tokyo Prime, The Journey, and the trek continues for the next few weeks as we here on the Home of Champions set the pace for you, even as we slowly and cautiously come together in a world we are still trying to redefine. One thing for certain, all hands are on deck to make these Olympics one to remember. On behalf of Lance Whitaker and the hard-working production team, my name is Donald Oliver. We catch you next week for another chapter in The Journey. Godspeed.